Hey y'all, and welcome back to the party. It's your girl BrittReacts, and today we are reacting to Metzger, Jehovah's Witness drama. Let's see what he's got to say. Oh, here comes the dramatic, cinematic opening.
He was on his knees in the alley in the back, and they're staring like, "Cut his ear off! Cut his ear off, Anthony!" And he goes, "Yeah, man, I want to do it, but they were all yelling, so." I was just like, fuck it, man. I cut his ear off. And
What? Are you okay? Nightmares, 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 nightmares. I'm gonna have nightmares.
I'm your host, Ari Shafir, and today the topic is crime.
Oh, I was today years old when I realized there was a topic on this show. The whole concept of this is so genius. I feel like I need to pop some popcorn for the title of this because, like, the title just screams juicy.
You might know him from this popular podcast on Sirius and iTunes called Race Wars. Please give it up for Mr. Kurt Metzger, everybody.
His face.
I relate to Ari because he was going to be a rabbi, and I was a minister. I actually was a minister. I was a Jehovah's Witness, and I was born into it. Is anybody raised religious in here? This is two different stories, by the way, that connect in a very weird way. You were? What were you? Oh, that's the natural vampires versus werewolves of Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, they don't like us. You know what? I used to live down south. They didn't like me because I didn't believe in hell. Like, why would you get mad at me for that? Well, people hear it and they're like, oh, you can't do your birthdays and, I don't know, Prince. Those are the two things. It's not well known.
I don't know if I knew that Prince was Jehovah's Witness, but I knew like the Jackson family was. Like I knew Michael Jackson and them were. Wow, was Prince Jehovah's Witness as well? I learned something new.
I don't know, Prince. Those are the two things. It's not well known. It's just a regular doomsday cult. It's no big deal. But I'm not bitter against it, and I kind of appreciate it, because it really taught me how to lie, Like, if you're raised religious, that's what it really gives you, the life skill of like who to lie to and when and why. Like you can't get that from a secular education. You need like higher stakes,
Sadly, I would have to agree with this. I honestly would have to agree with this. Like as I'm thinking about it, like, you know what? Yeah.
To really act like your life depends on it, Because your immortality fucking depends on it. So that's when you really learn, right? It's a valuable skill to have. I'm sure you got it in spades, right? Were you one of them like, blah, 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 those guys? Yeah. So that's the...
Was that him speaking in tongues?
First you tell yourself this is God's language.
Speaking in tongues.
That you tell yourself that, and that's reality. So other lies come easy once you know how to do that magic, right? And you get like a secret life. And when religious people go bad, everyone jumps on them because they think you're not supposed to sin, but they're really just doing shit everybody does. It's just they built it up so much that they're not that kind of person. So that's why it's so devastating. You're in your head, you're like, I'm not a guy that's like this, right? So when I grew up out of the church I was in, I realized everybody was doing like soap opera, epic, just fucking and all kinds of crazy shit that I had no idea as a kid. Like, I'm the sucker that followed it, I felt like. Because I really did. Like I was told never to masturbate ever, like that religious. Like an adult said, you should never. If all goes perfectly, you will have never masturbated. An adult said, with a straight face said that to me. And
He truly seems to have some like PTSD. Not even being funny. Like you really can have like religious trauma. You really can have like religious triggers. It's real. And the way he's telling the story feels like so real. Oh, it's like you can see it in his eyes.
Yeah, do you know what happened, by the way, to a grown man? Just medically, if he never masturbated? No, nobody knows. It's never been attempted by anyone. But I'm supposed to be the first man in history to not jerk my dick off. Like Kurt, we think you could be the chosen one. So we've all failed. You know? Yeah, but it's that kind of stuff, right? And but ours was what's especially hard about Jehovah's Witnesses, or what people might think is culty, is you have to do it. Okay, that's what made the hardest part about the religion. It's not like Catholics I always envied, because that's like so great. You just get to be Catholic. You don't have to do nothing, right? What are you gonna do? You watch like mafia movies. You never see him take the guy. Hey, Mr. Soprano, don't come to this church no more because you're a murderer. You know, they don't say that. It's cool. We had to do ours, or you get disfellowshipped, right? Which is like cast out, and all your friends are in the congregation. They said it's set up that way. Your real friends are Jehovah's Witnesses. The rest of you are nice, like we could be acquaintances, but.
Oh, I thought he was saying like if you get disowned or whatever, like all your friends are there when that happens. I'm like, oh, that's savage. Wow.
Real friends are Jehovah's Witnesses. The rest of you are nice, like we could be acquaintances, but. You know, God's going to exterminate you off this earth, so don't get too attached. You seem like nice people, but we didn't have hell though, but it was still everything on you. So people would have.
I also didn't know Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in hell. Learned something else new today.
We didn't have hell though, but it was still everything on you. So people would have secret lives, right? So this is about a sex crime, this story, and yeah. Yeah. When I was 8, my brother was born, and my mom's best friend in the church, her son babysat me. He was 13. Okay, we'll call him Josh, and he was like an adult to me because I was 8. You know, this 13-year-old. When I think back on that, it's funny because he was like really skinny. It's the 80s, so he's got like a Luke Skywalker butt cut kind of hair.
Butt cut.
And he's Jeffrey Dahmer glasses that everybody had, and real skinny with like really high shorts. Okay. And so I was just alone with him the whole day, and he didn't molest me or something. We just had to watch The Honeymooners, which I didn't care for because I was 8. That's not the sex crime. It went fine. We spent the day together. He was a nice church boy, wasn't he?
I think we can all agree that we were concerned that that's where this was going. So I'm relieved that he pretty early on told us that's not the case.
It went fine. We spent the day together. He was a nice church boy, wasn't he? But a few years later, when he got to high school, he started working out a lot, this guy. And, but just his top, he was one of those dudes, right? And it was before people really started calling you on that. So he did steroids. I don't know if he just shot the steroids on the top part like that. I don't know what he did. But he, just gigantic, but the same legs I remember from 13, and the same hair, but it was just smaller on his big steroid head now. He was a hulking man.
His big steroid head.
He was like 17. And everybody's like, Jesus, Josh is huge. Like, we were all just very impressive, right? And then, even more impressive, he ended up banging his geometry teacher.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Josh.
His geometry teacher, I guess statutory raped him. And they didn't really charge you back then, you know? They just handled it at the school. She got fired.
Things were so crazy. Like, seatbelts weren't a thing back then. It's just like, it was a free-for-all. You live, you live. You don't, you don't. Like, what a time to be alive.
She got divorced, and then it was a big scandal, because I heard about it through the Jehovah's Witness grapevine. Right? That was the gossip. And so the developments were...
Gossip moves no faster than it moves in a religious community. Understand me when I say this. The pace at which gossip moves in a religious movement, you wouldn't believe. You wouldn't believe. I could tell a member of the church Sunday morning at 8 a.m. while I'm getting ready to go to church that I did something. Confess, just I did something. And by the time I got to church at 9 a.m., the pastor would be like, nothing travels faster than gossip in
amazing when they come in. But then the most amazing development was she decided she wanted to study the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses. So they have to let you. So guess what? She started coming into the church. And Josh's mom wasn't too thrilled, but what's she gonna do? She just can't say nothing about it. And then they got married. She studied, this is over a 4-year period. She became a Jehovah's Witness and they married. And became a nice Christian couple. She was real hot too. She was like a real, before even the word MILF was a thing, like she was that. And she was like it was the sisters of the congregation that were like giving her the side. The brother's like, that kid's awesome. Like, first of all, he's got a great upper body. Start with that.
Upper body.
Had the same haircut for over 8 years. You know, it wasn't as much a thing for, I remember my dad so that's the end of that. That sex crime just ended with a nice church couple, basically.
That is so crazy.
Romance. And then this is the second story, which for some reason that I don't understand relates to that story. And it shouldn't.
He doesn't understand.
When I was like 19 and I got out of high school.
This is just an observation. I would not love to be one of the people who are sitting behind him. That's such a you have to already looking up because you're sitting below him. And all you're getting is like a view of his back and his head. These are things I think about when I'm watching these videos and reacting, y'all. It's like, ooh, I wouldn't want those seats.
Well, and I didn't go to college. I wanted to have a job for some reason first.
Yeah.
And I worked at this place called Funco Land, which is they
something
sell
in my eye.
GameSpot now. I don't know why I looked at you like you would know, dude. This backyard wrestler understands what I'm saying. It's a video game store. Okay, and I got hired as assistant manager right away by this guy, Ricardo, let's call him. He was this Puerto Rican guy who was 30 when I was 19, and he was also a Jehovah's Witness from the Spanish congregation, okay? And but he just we just got along, so he hired me as assistant manager. And I was a jerk off, you know? But he had a violent temper and would yell at me until I did the job good. And he was like,
that would never stand today. That would never stand today. A manager with a violent temper, you're canceled.
Temper and would yell at me until I did the job good. And he was like really light-skinned, blue-eyed Puerto Rican guy from the island, so he looked down on anybody from here. I don't know if you know the politics of that, of Puerto Ricans versus other Puerto Rican kind of people, but it's intense. And but he would call me white boy a lot, but he was very white, you know? And we would play fighting games, and he would break his controllers because he thought I was being too cheap. He goes, "You cheat me out, man!
What?
Why don't you be a man?" And he'd break his controller. He broke 3 controllers.
What?
Talking like Mandy Patinkin from The Princess Bride to me. "You killed my father!" So, but he did really man me up, I gotta give it to him. And then he ended up getting fired for something, but I became the manager, and he trained me. So now, I'm 20, and I'm the manager of Funco Land.
No.
And I live with my parents, and I make $24,000 a year, so that's pretty awesome, you know? And I had to hire an assistant manager. And the guy that I hired...
This is not going to end well.
A bunch of people. And with, retail, with a job like that, you just want to find someone you could hang out with, right? That's really your main...
This is true.
They won't steal too much, and that's all you're looking for, because it's a nightmare. You know how retail is? You have the store greeting. "Great day, Funco Land." You have to say that. They think people want that. And then they have snitches that call to make sure you're telling people you're having a great...
Raise your hand if you ever worked retail. I've worked so many retail jobs, and honestly, the turnaround, right? The revolving door of managers that I feel like I always had, he's so right. It's just find someone who's going to show up, and if they steal, I'll just turn a blind eye to it, because at least I have an assistant manager.
Great fucking day at Funco. I had a great day. Yes, great leader. But because I was religious, I was good at that kind of that stuff, little stupid rules for no reason that you have to follow. I had training from the Bible.
Training from the Bible.
So I hired this guy. He was from Philly. This black guy from Philly, and he was older than me too. And he was just the first guy that I just got along with really well. Okay, and he was pretty hood, from And now, now I live in a straight up ghetto, so it's not new to me now. But if you're from the suburbs and have you have maybe black friends if you're white, but they're not like what you imagine from TV, right? This is the TV coming to work for me. It's not all like guys with a sideways gun. There's levels of it. There's hustler guys and there's white collar of that shit. So he was that. He was a smarter. Yeah, he had been an enforcer for this crack dealer in Philly. He had to go. He told me he had to get people, and and I think it's this chick that I saw in Gangland. I just put it together recently, called the Queen Pin, because I'm as a female as the timeline works. I think that's who it was.
What? This story is so chaotic and so all over the place. His storytelling is it's just all over. It's all over.
Yeah, so if you owed a small amount of money, he would come just mess you up, and because you have to. That's how that economy. You can't let
that economy.
Go. You'll be dead. You have to send this. Let's call him DeShanthony. You have to send DeShanthony.
DeShanthony?
Let's just mix all the names together. DeShanthony.
Let's just mix all the hood names together, and we got DeShanthony.
But he had been a violin prodigy. Okay? I swear to God, this is
that
true.
Sounds about right.
That tested out of Dum Dum school that he was in. And they put him in an arts high school because he was some kind of mega IQ guy, and he just hung out with bad people and just dropped out of that school and became a...
You would be surprised how true and how common and how often stuff like that happens in underserved communities. Children are geniuses. They are literally so skillful and so talented, but because of their surroundings and their circumstances, it is a real deal true thing. And I know a lot of people like to argue that's not true, where you grow up doesn't matter. And it's you don't understand. To have to be bussed out of your area to get the proper education should tell you enough of the fact that there isn't the resources that they need in their communities. They have to leave to get the type of education that they actually need. And then you come home and you're surrounded by this. So yeah, of course he's going to end up hanging out with the wrong kids because his home environment, he's only at school a certain amount of time. But it is crazy how many talented, insanely smart children there are in these communities. That is such a true thing.
Crack enforcer. And he told me just dropped out of that school and became a crack enforcer. And he told me the reason he moved was he was going after this one guy who was real big, and he got kind of close to the guy, and the guy just hit him without warning and cracked his rib or something. And he said he felt like crying. He's yeah, actually, fuck it, I cried a little bit. and then he ran up and kicked this dude in the chest, and the guy didn't get up. So he moved to my town and worked for me at Funko Land.
He just admitted to murder, rhymes with murder. And so he just left town. Okay.
My town and worked for me at Funko Land.
Is this a sex crime?
All of this I learned in the interview, by the way. Did I mention that? This was all told during the interview process. I mean, it was riveting. It's like a Netflix series. You're hired right now. So it was awesome to hang out with this dude. And he's into martial arts and stuff. So we would go to flea markets and buy it's like hanging out with Wesley Snipes or something. We could buy karate weapons, impractical karate weapons that you would never use. And he would show me how to play with them and all kinds of stuff that I'm not supposed to do none of this stuff because I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I can't play with violence.
Right.
I couldn't even have guns on my Star Wars men. My mom took the guns off my Star Wars men. So I just had men. Thanks for the men. So finally...
He hasn't cracked a smile the entire time telling either of these stories, and that's how you know how true they are. He said he was telling us 2 sex crime stories. Where is this going? Where is this going?
For the men. So finally someone's giving me some man time. So.
Oh, he laughed.
Yeah, so
He's laughing.
Some part way, and he was a great employee. He was like sell all the commissionable stuff really fast, and the customers loved him because he was a charming dude. He was great, and he was very like supportive. Like he was always building up my self-esteem. And later I worked in Jersey City, and these guys, I ended up getting in a fight with some people, and I thought they were gonna kill me because that's a bad area, and he drove up with a gun to just watch me. Like, cool, he was a down dude. So he started selling crack on the side to supplement his Funko Land income, okay? It was Bricktown, New Jersey, so he was like the only game in town. And now he had an enforcer who was called Zumo, okay? I never met him. But just imagine that, hearing that name, Zumo, and he...
Everyone else in this story got made up names, and I feel like he's so into telling this story that we really got Zumo's real name. That might not be good for Zumo.
Never met him. But just imagine that, hearing that name, Zumo, and he would complain about Zumo. He'd be like, Zumo smokes too much product, and he's too violent, okay? He just beat this guy to death. Like, because he wasn't like a gangster in his head. He was like, I'm in Bricktown, it's just a little side. I just sell crack to friends, man. He wasn't like, starting an empire. And meanwhile, Zumo was like some maniac. But you'd always have a new terrible... And this guy, DeShanthony, had done some shit himself. Like, he told me he cut a guy's ear off once. Somebody had robbed him. Like, he got mugged and didn't know he was connected to this lady, so... His boys found the guy at a club and called him over there, and he was on his knees in the alley in the back, and they were staring like, cut his ear off, DeShanthony. And we were putting games away while he's telling me, and he goes, yeah, man, I want to do it, but they were all yelling, so I was just like, fuck it, man, I cut his ear off, and I was putting away Bubsy 2 for Sega Genesis on the wall, as I remember the happy cat. Well, how about that? But it was just fascinating, and I'm a church kid, so that's amazing to me, just anything like that. So I love hanging out with them, but I was always like, what if,
a little scared?
Moses were alive and saw, like, just some weird Bible-y shit they put in your head. They told us to imagine Bible characters are watching you, so I'm like, what if Moses saw?
Oh, he wasn't scared of DeShanthony. He was worried if Moses knew that he was hanging out with DeShanthony and hearing these stories. Okay.
Characters are watching you, so I'm like, what if Moses saw? But I'm not supposed to be hanging out with this person, okay, at all. Like a friend like that, okay? He's not one of us, and he sells crack, and he has a Zumo working for him. I get disfellowshipped if somebody found out. That's where you're like out of the thing. That's like disconnecting or whatever, right? And so I'm at his house, we're playing with butterfly knives that we bought. And he showed me how to do all the cool, I didn't know I could do all them, I could do all them, because this guy showed me. And while I'm doing that, I hear bang, 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 bang on his door. Like a violent, that I felt like someone was coming to get me in trouble for not playing. Like it was such a nerve-wracking sound. And he goes, oh man, Zumo's here. I'm like, oh shit. Now I'm in too deep because...
Right, now Zumo's here.
I thought you just hang out with him without ever, And so door opens up and it's fucking Josh, that guy that babysat me and fucked his teacher. In addition to already an impressive resume.
Shut your mouth.
By nights, he controls the streets as Zumo.
Shut your mouth.
I couldn't believe it. We were both like, what are you doing here? Yeah. And then him and his dad.
I did not see that coming. Shut your mouth. I did not see that coming. No way.
That teacher ended up getting divorced because he's a crackhead. That's the end. All right, that's my story. Thanks.
I'm sorry, I was too stunned to just pause it. No way. The chaosity, is it a word? I don't know, but it applies. The chaosity of that story just was overwhelming. I cannot believe he said Josh Izumo. How? With his skinny legs, he's hemming people up for CRACK? He's whack. It's whack. Okay? All right, y'all. I'm stunned. Go have the day you deserve. Peace.